So clock synchronized by, we want to synchronize all our clocks. Resolution settings checked by. There's nothing more ridiculously stupid than coming back from an event and finding out that you had them on the smallest mode because you were just going to upload, smallest size and quality mode, because you were just going to upload them to Facebook or something like that. So we need to make sure that we are on the professional, higher resolution and quality settings. If you shoot RAW, of course, that's redundant, but this is, in my situation, of course, I never shot RAW. And that's a completely different discussion. For me, I shot everything JPEG. Okay, ISO set to automatic. For many cameras have automatic ISO, but then it disactivates when you go to manual mode. So I always wanted to dial that thing to ISO 640. Why 640? Because, and you know, having shot so many events, as soon as I pull up in the car and I pull my gear out, doggone it, something's happening and I don't have my camera ready. So I've learned over the years to have a camera completely ready with a medium length zoom, a flash unit attached, ISO to 640, because 640 is kind of like, if you have to run inside to do something like that, you know, it's enough to get you a little bit of ambient light without too much darkness. And if you're shooting outside, you're not going to blow out by having your camera not able to shoot at your super high ISO. So all the cameras, all 5, need to be set to ISO 640. Sensor checked for dust. Now that's really important, or dead pixels, but that's really important, real easy to do. This is the way I would do it. Basically take a camera, turn it to very unfocused, manual focus, aim it at a wall, take a picture, and then zoom in around the LCD to see if there's any dust. If there's dust, of course, then we take our dust off cleaner and then clean the sensor. A lot of the cameras now have their own automatic dust removal, and that's completely fine. But we want to make sure that we check the sensor for dust or dead pixels. Last one, tone contrast settings set to neutral by so-and-so. And I want all 5 cameras to be set to neutral. I don't want it to be on black and white. I don't want it to be on landscape. I don't want it to be on super high intensity mode, because if I have high contrast or high saturation, I'm going to have a problem toning down those things later. If I have too much contrast, I can't reduce contrast. I can always increase it later in, say, Photoshop or Lightroom, but I cannot decrease it, because once you have too much contrast, it's either white or it's black and not a zillion shades of gray in between. Now, here's the big one. Let's focus down here where it says cards used. Now, under cards used, I found it very, very important to, hang on just a quick second, hold on. I found it very important to, under cards used, I found it very important to label all of my cards from A to Z. And the reason that is because when I go back to this sheet right here, you'll notice that each card has a label. That will help me later, of course, identify which cards were shot by which body. So right here, card A went to the 5D with a number 116. Card G went to the D300 with serial number 811. And so those cards stay inside the camera. Now, it's a big source of controversy, but what I suggest and what I know is a better ratio of safety, a bigger safety net, is to actually just use 1 card per body per event. And here's the reason why. Those little pins, if you have any static electricity and you touch the pins, you can potentially seize the entire card. That's happened. I've got an email from somebody when I was asking for disaster stories in digital photography, pulled the card out and fell down a storm drain. Another person, and this is absolutely something I can't make up, pulled out the card and then had the fresh card in her hand and couldn't tell which one was which, and things were rolling, so she just popped whichever card that she thought was the newer one and formatted it in the camera. Really, really bad news. Because then, of course, there was like something like 600 images missing. So typically, you know, get a larger card, 16 gigs, something like that, 32 gig card. They're not super expensive anymore. Have 1 card per camera, because when it stays inside the camera, you won't lose it. The camera is the best protective case for a compact flash card anywhere because you can drop it off maybe a pretty tall height, and the camera itself will protect the card. And the card's really the most important thing. So what I like to do is have one card per camera, but you'll see right here that I have 3 slots under the each body column. So if you need to do three cards per camera, then I gave you that option here down in the chart. Now, cards formatted by, and then here's the initials, main photographer and second shooter. Let me explain this. The card that you're going to shoot with should not be formatted until the very last minute of your pre-flight. What I'm saying is this: if you shoot an event, then let's say, for example, I shoot an event on 3 bodies, and it's called bodies cards A, B, and C. Those 3 cards are going to go into a protective area. Those 3 cards are my ultimate backup. I honestly tell you that most of the file problems we have is transferring from a hard drive to another hard drive or compact flash to a hard drive. The best backup you can possibly have is the compact flash. So I would do what's called a rotating stock. This week I shot these 4 cards, and then I put them aside until the event is completely uploaded, all the deletions are done, they're given to the client, everything like that. I got another event coming. It's a different 4 cards, and then these are now in storage. These 4 cards are going to be shot but formatted just before the event. So these 4 cards have an event on them, but they only go back into use when we know that the event is completely safe, it's buttoned up, it's uploaded, whatever you want to do to it, given to a client on a disk, whatever it is, it's safe, and now you format just before the next event. Extremely important to do that. Now, want to say this, down here it says assigned to photographer, and then this is I'll talk about this post-image processing in another video, but down here you'll say photographer number 1's initials, so MP equals main photographer. That's supposed to look like a signature, and then spell it out right here, main photographer. Photographer number 2 is SS equals second shooter. That's a signature right there, and second shooter. Now down here it says, by signing above, each photographer certifies that all images taken at the event exist on assigned cards only. No shooting on second other cameras allowed. Now this, again, very, very important. It will stop any dispute as to who took that awesome photo. If you want to enter something as an award for some major convention, or if you, somebody took a picture of Elvis landing in a UFO in the middle of your ceremony, and you want to sell that image for $1 million to the tabloids or whatever it is, you have to know who shot which image. And by having the photographer sign the sheet, they testify that only the images that are on the cards assigned to them. So second shooter only had cards G and H, and then they testify on the sheet that they only are responsible for images G and H. And that's also really good too, because maybe not a good idea if you're training somebody to mix those shots in the grand scheme. It's a lot more editing with a photographer who's less experienced. Okay, so that's the pre-flight. A little bit of information about some legal, ethical, professional responsibilities with having a second shooter. And you'll know down here that it says photographer number 3, photographer number 4, so that you could have 4 shooters on the sheet. But I think that's under this, guys, you've got your cameras charged, ISO set, resolution set, tone contrast settings set, clock synchronized all across each other, cards formatted, cameras loaded up, ready to shoot. As soon as you get to the event, and doing this, you'll have very, very small likelihood of screwing up your priceless, irrecoverable digital images when you're shooting an event. Okay, so thank you.